Most people think psychopathy is about serial killers on the evening news, obsessed villains, and blood on the walls. It's a trap. When you watch movies, read thrillers, or binge true crime podcasts, you learn something dangerous. You learn to believe that the monster is easy to spot in a crowd. That evil always looks like evil. But true clinical psychopathy isn't a Hollywood script. It is a quiet, structural glitch in the base code of humanity. This is what nobody tells normal people about the cold-blooded. And to explain how it works from the inside, I want you to meet someone. Let's call him Paul. If Paul took the Hare psychopathy checklist, the gold standard for diagnosis in psychiatry, he would score over 30 points. An average person scores about a 1 or a 2. For a long time, this felt like a superpower. He was successful, charming, and always got exactly what he wanted. But at 32, Paul was sitting in a therapist's office. Not because he felt guilty, not because he wanted to atone for his sins, but because he was dealing with an unbearable, paralyzing boredom. Words like compassion, anxiety, and love had followed him his whole life like empty echoes. In that session, Paul got completely honest. I'm not living. I'm just simulating a life on autopilot. To understand why Paul is like this, we have to look at the clinical principles that govern his reality. Principle 1. The empathy divide. Most people think psychopaths don't understand other people's emotions. That is completely wrong. Empathy is divided into two types. Cognitive, the ability to understand what someone is feeling, and affective, the ability to feel it yourself. Paul is a master of cognitive empathy. He reads microexpressions, vocal tones, and insecurities better than any psychologist. But his effective empathy is 0. It's like watching a movie in a foreign language you don't speak, but reading perfect subtitles. You understand the plot, you know the hero is in pain, but you don't cry. Knowing the answer on the emotional test is not the same as experiencing it in the real world. Principle 2. The broken alarm. Psychopaths have a specific physiological quirk. Their amygdala, the brain's threat and fear processing center, is underactive or structurally impaired. When a normal person stands on the edge of a cliff or is about to break the law, their palms sweat, their heart races, and their brain screams, "Stop." Paul's brain is dead silent. This isn't bravery. You can't call someone brave when their biological alarm system is literally unplugged. Because of this fear deficit, they don't learn from punishment. The threat of prison, getting fired, or losing a family simply doesn't register in their nervous system as something terrifying. Principle 3. Tolerate the fatal boredom. Here is where the major weakness lies. A brain that doesn't process fear and operates on a chronically low level of baseline arousal gets bored fast. Lethally bored. The ordinary joys of life, a quiet evening with a spouse, a stable job, a walk in the park, are excruciating for a psychopath. They need novelty. They need dopamine. Here's what Paul understood that most normal people don't. For a psychopath, boredom isn't just a lack of things to do. It is physical discomfort. This craving for stimulation is exactly what pushes them into impulsive acts, crime, infidelity, or pathological lying. They don't always ruin people's lives out of malice. Often, they do it just to feel something, anything. Principle 4. The optimization loop and the mask of sanity. This is the silent killer of authenticity. Psychopaths are not born knowing how to manipulate. They learn it. They optimize their behavior. Paul used to spend hours observing how people react to grief, how they laugh at jokes, how they comfort each other, He gathered data and built an algorithm. He wore what psychiatrist Hervey Cleckley famously called the mask of sanity. It feels productive. It feels smart. It feels like power. But in reality, it is an endless, exhausting routine, pretending to be human every single day, every single minute. They hide behind this optimization because it feels safe. They execute perfectly calculated reactions because behind the preparation, there is absolute emptiness. Principle 5. The Illusion of Superiority. Around month 12 of therapy, Paul had to accept something that nearly broke him. His intellect and lack of moral breaks gave him an advantage in corporate warfare. But life isn't just a boardroom. Here is what nobody tells people who romanticize psychopathy. Your coldness is not your advantage. Every genius manipulator who eventually lost made the exact same mistake. They waited for the world to bow to their intellect. But the mathematical reality is this: you cannot build a long-term, meaningful empire, whether a business or a family, on calculation alone. Humans are social creatures. Without the glue of genuine affective attachment, any structure you build will eventually collapse. Paul didn't win because he was ruthless. He just successfully isolated himself in a perfect, sterile cage. The neurological hand you were dealt doesn't matter if you have absolutely no one to play the game with. Psychopathy isn't a superpower. It's just life, with all the important parts permanently deleted.